Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
I have no money in my coffer, no gold or silver do I bring, nor have I precious jewels to offer to celebrate the newborn King. Yet do not spurn my gift completely, O ye three wise men, please demur. Behold a plant that smokes more sweetly than either frankincense or myrrh. And like the child born in this manger, this herb is mild, yet it is strong, and it brings peace to friend and stranger. Goodwill to men lies in this balm. And now my wonder weed is flaring.
Are you high?
Lit like that special star above.
Can it be?
Pass it around in endless sharing.
On Christmas Day,
and let not mankind bogart love.
you'd smoke my tree.
And the wise men started token, and yea, the bud was kind. It was salvation they were smoking, and his forgiveness blew their mind. And still that wonder weed is flaring.
Are you high?
Lit like that star was once above.
You're so high.
Pass it around in endless sharing.
Dude, man, dude,
And let not mankind bogart love.
you're really high. I'm gonna tell your Savior.
And let not mankind bogart love.
Hello, I'm Casper Leach, and thank you for taking time for hemp. Today we are very honored to have a special guest on our program. This gentleman has changed country music forever with his voice, with his style, and with his singing. He's also helped an awful lot of farmers across America with their plights and their heartaches, and he's also brought to the public a message of hemp legalization that is backing people in Kentucky, such as Gatewood Galbraith and their campaigns, to just conversations on a daily basis on how we should save our planet. Our special guest today is Willie Nelson. Willie, thank you very much for being a guest on our show.
Glad to be here.
Willie, you've had a chance to see firsthand the heartaches and the plights that our farmers are going through. And a lot of people in their offices and driving to and from their jobs in LA and New York and Chicago don't see the heartache that you've had a chance to witness. Could you share some of that?
Well, whenever I first started hearing about the farmers' problems, see, I was born in a farm community, in a farm town. A lot of my friends are farmers. So I started checking it out. I heard these horror stories about farmers getting foreclosed on and losing their farms, and bankers who were once friendly, now unfriendly. And I heard all these things, and I said, well, something's going on that I'm not aware of. So I started checking it out. And millions of farmers all over this country had been losing their farms at the rate of 1 million a year.
What, acreages?
Well,
1 million farms?
Farmers. And, you know, at one time there was 8 million working farmers in this country, American family farmers. Now we're down to probably less than 2 million. The big corporations, it's the old story of the big ones eating the little ones. And they're running the small farmer off the land. And when that happens, the farm town closes down. The first thing, the hospitals and the schools go, and then what happens is all these people are now unemployed. They move on to the next big city, which causes the same kind of problems in that city. I think that all the homelessness, alcoholism, insanity, all these things that we experience, unemployment in our country, can be traced back to the first time that the first American farmer was forced off his land when he was unable to make a living off of 100 or 200 acres of land. And the reason for it is because they have asked him, demanded or made it necessary that he raise a crop below what it costs him to raise it. Okay. He loses money on, for instance, if he, just example figures, for instance, if he were to, it costs him $2 to, or $3 to plant and raise and harvest a bushel of corn, and if he only gets $2.50 for that at the market, then he's losing. Right. And this is an accepted practice in American agriculture today, for the farmer to get less than what it costs him to grow. And they keep trying to justify it with subsidies and whatever. But the American farmer would rather go out here and work hard and make his money the hard way, the way he knows how to do it. Give him an acre, let him do what that acre can do. Let him do it without all the pesticides, without all the chemicals. Don't put his yield so low, his money so low, that he has to use every piece or every gallon of pesticides that he can find to pour on that acre of land in order to get enough money out to almost break even. They have forced him into this position. There are even banks who will not loan you any money at all unless you agree to use X amount of pesticides and chemicals on your land.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Because they know that the only way you can make your payment is if you get so much off of that acre, and the only way you can get that much off of that acre is to keep pouring the chemicals to that 1 acre.
Wow. Well, now, when did you first become aware of hemp as a cash crop?
A couple of years ago, I read a book I think that a lot of us have read by now called The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and it was in that book there was a reprint of an article. The one thing in that book that I saw that could not be argued with was an article that came out in 1938 edition of Popular Mechanics magazine, February edition, if anybody wants to go check it out, that said a new $1 billion crop for the farmers.
Do you think that farmers today would be receptive to growing hemp as a cash crop? Because of all the propaganda we've heard over the years, there are so many people now who believe that it's the evil weed. But we kind of figure it, because of all the products that it can create, that it could be a solution.
Well, definitely. I think most people that I talked to had no idea, just like me, that hemp and marijuana was the same thing. We were ignorant of that fact. Also, we were ignorant of the fact that hemp could be used as food. It can be used as clothing. The first Levi's in this country were made from hemp. The first Bibles were printed on hemp paper. The Declaration of Independence, the first 2 copies of this was printed on hemp paper. People don't know that.
Willie, now, that kind of like points to some of the things that we were talking about on the income that can be generated for the farms and saving the farms and so on. And we were talking about the difficulty of trying to reintroduce it to the economy. Where do you see hemp actually taking the farmers? If they were to start being allowed to grow it, do you think hemp in and of itself could be the crop that would save the farms for America?
In the state of Kentucky, when the leading agricultural crop there in 1937 was hemp, when they took that away from the farmers, it would be like taking wheat away from Kansas, cotton away from Texas, cattle, away from. It's just devastating what has happened to the farmers in that area since their leading agricultural crop, which, as we've all seen, is a very beneficial, and not only beneficial, necessary plant that the earth needs. If it wasn't supposed to be there, the big guy wouldn't put it there. You know, he didn't make no mistakes. So he put hemp here for a reason. One of the reasons, I believe, is that the root is like 10 to 12 inches long, which literally holds the planet together. Now, what happens when you eradicate a plant from the planet?
You have a lot of soil running loose.
If you check history, every civilization that has gone under since the beginning of time has gone under because of soil erosion and the inability of the people to be able to feed themselves. Now, is that a serious problem today? Look at Bangladesh.
Yeah, really is.
Look at the places on the planet where hemp has been made illegal to grow. In the state of Iowa, that state in the last 100 years has lost over 50% of its topsoil.
Wow.
So we're talking about farming areas that are going down the drain because of some some very well-planned conspiracy to take the hemp plant off the planet to keep it from being competition to the other products that it would be competition to, your petrochemicals, your paper, all the textiles. Now, business is business, as they say, and anything is fair in love and war.
Yeah.
But when you start taking something that valuable away from the planet, you're affecting other things other than just business associates. You're affecting our children who eat, and you're affecting yourself and me. We're taking food away from, healthy food away from our families, and we're taking the healthy soil away from our planet.
What do you think it would take to get the farmers to rally around this plant and to unite across the United States and say, give us the right to grow this plant so that we can start utilizing it for industrial purposes?
Well, the biggest problem is knowledge, education. I think this is the first thing that has to be done. The American farmer has to be made aware that 50 years ago this was a legal crop, and why was it taken away? I think he has to start asking himself, why is this hidden from me? Let his curiosity start growing. Why did my grandfather plant hemp, and why can I not plant hemp? Now, I've heard all about the big scare of the marijuana thing, but most people who have lived any length of time at all and have been around anything at all on this planet knows that if we have any serious problems in the world, which we do, marijuana is not one of them.
No, not really.
Not one of them. When you start listing our serious problems, it's way down on the list somewhere. And it might be even one of our greatest assets that has been disguised to make appear to be a bad guy. So I think what the farmer should do, and not only the farmer, every taxpayer out there, everybody who's affected, everybody who eats food, should start wondering, why are we so kept in the dark over this one plant, the hemp plant?
Do you get any slack or difficulty being a performer who advocates the relegalization of hemp? Do you?
I get into a lot of things that I get flack for.
Yeah, I know.
So it's hard to say where my flack's coming from.
Okay. We've had other people on the show ask their own contemporaries and peers to join the fight, and I was wondering if you could do that for us.
To say that again, I'm sorry.
We've had other guests ask their contemporaries and their peers in their fields to help us join the fight to re-legalization, to re-legalize hemp. I was wondering if you could,
I thought that's what we've been doing for the last 30 minutes.
Sometimes, yes, but people seem to miss the point.
Well, I think if they listen to what has been said on this program, if they watch the film that they have seen, if they watch the material that is made available to them, then let them make their own decisions. Let your conscience be your guide, as the old saying goes.
Do you think the government has had much to do with the downfall of the farmer?
Well, of course.
In what way?
Well, when our government puts out such agricultural policies that put our farmers out of business, then it's not hard to see where the problem is coming from.
Now, when you're out there working with the farmers side by side, do you have an opportunity to witness ways that we, people who are not involved with the farm communities on a daily basis, those of us who are driving to and from work, stuck in our offices, what can we do to help the farmer overcome this misery? They've been together as our backbone forever.
There's a great plan that just I became aware of it here a year or so ago, last year in fact. The farmers have come up with this idea themselves. It's called parity giving. For instance, if you're a rich guy, you got millions of dollars, you want to do something for the poor, the hungry people, you would buy direct from the farmers, pay them a certain price. For instance, for corn, if you buy $1 million worth of corn from the farmers and pay them $3 a bushel, whatever the market price is, then you would be able to write off, you give it to the hungry, you give it to the poor people. Then you would write off what is considered a parity price or a fair market price, which would be in the neighborhood of around $7. So you would get to charge, you buy it for $3 and get to write off $7. So this would be a great benefit not only to the guy with money who wants to help, to the farmer who gets his product sold, and also to the people out there who are hungry, who needs the food. It's really ridiculous for people to be starving to death on this planet when there's a lot of food available.
Now that sounds like something that's affordable for a lot of us to do. If you're looking at like $3 a bushel as an example, you might be able to put out like 10 bushels. Is there any way of contacting?
Well, this is something that has to be introduced through legislation into Congress. There has to be a vote on it.
It hasn't happened yet.
And it's happening now. It's being written up and getting ready. And we're just trying to call attention to it and make everybody aware of it out there, that when they hear the word parity giving, that they'll know what they're talking about.
Well, should we encourage people then to write on a local level to their representatives or on a national level?
And tell their local politicians what's going on, that there is a parity giving program being announced and legislature being drawn up, and to be on the lookout for it, check it out, and see how it will help the farmers in your area.
Okay, are there other programs that Americans can get involved with in helping the farmer overcome?
Well, of course, Farm Aid is still alive and well, and we're planning Farm Aid 5, and it looks like it will be at the LA Coliseum.
Yay.
And on November 30th of this year, Thanksgiving weekend.
Excellent timing.
Yeah, it is excellent timing, and it will be a good chance for anyone who wants to help the American farmer to do so.
Yeah, I hope I get a chance to be there for that one. If you had the opportunity to express yourself at any one point in time to the American people and deliver the message of the farmer, what would you say?
Well, first of all, the fact that you're able to do this television show, and I'm here talking on it, and as people are able to watch it on their television, it means that this idea has come. It's time for people to consider it and make a decision, one way or another. And it's a question you have to ask yourself. Is it important? Is the planet worth saving? Can hemp really save the planet? If it can, why is it kept such a secret from us? Ask yourself these questions, call around, do some research, and make your own conclusions.
I tell you, we are facing a world that needs medicines, we are facing a world that needs food, and we're facing a world that's rather stubborn when it comes to dealing with the topic of drugs. They seem to overlook the fact that marijuana is a legal plant, a hemp plant that can be grown for, as we've said, paper, fiber, and fuel. We have people overseas who are growing it for just that. Is there anything that we can learn from our brothers and sisters overseas, do you think, that would help reintroduce us into our economy?
Well, you must remember that our brothers and sisters overseas are controlled by the same people who control us here. Their planting habits. Hemp is illegal on many parts of the planet, and it's been made illegal by the same people who made it illegal here. The oil companies, the petrochemical people, who are the paper industries, the people who own trees on this planet, who would rather see us chop down the trees and make paper rather than use hemp, which could save all the trees. There's a lot of opposition here, so this is a war that we're just on the beginning stages of, and there will be opposition from a lot of people. There'll be a lot of people throwing a lot of accusations at you, at me, so you better be ready for it.
Do you think the Trilateral Commission has something to do with what might be going on with the hemp plant?
Well, not being a member of that august society, I wouldn't know, but I have heard rumors that it's probably not even called that anymore. So by the time you start checking out one thing, they've changed it to something else.
Okay, because I've often wondered, because of the connection overseas of a lot of our laws and regulations.
Anywhere hemp is grown, it's a threat to the petrochemicals. It's a threat to synthetic energy. So naturally, it's going to be a battle to be fought.
Willie, it has been a joy to have you on our program today. You know, to have the honor of you coming in here and speaking on behalf of the farmers. I mean, you have a voice of authority, you know, because you've seen it and you've been there. And we want to wish you all the luck in what you're doing. Is there any place that anybody can write or get in contact if they want to get and participate in farm aid, or if they want to find some way of helping the farmers in their states? Is there any organizations that you can think of that might benefit from?
There are many organizations. Farm Aid funds many different organizations, agricultural movements in all the states, all the areas, and it's very simple to find out who in your area represents the farmers, the Farmers Alliance or whatever. There's many organizations, and you can look in your phone book or ask your neighbor and find out who. Or you can also call 1-800-FARM-AID.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Again, I want to thank you all for tuning in to enjoy this program called Time for Hemp. We realize that sometimes we walk on the edge, but our purpose here is to educate and to help free the victims from their pains and their plights. So the next time that you have the opportunity to sit down with a little time on your hands, pick up a piece of paper and pencil, write your congressperson, write your senators, write the president, write the vice president, get up off your fannies and get out that door and go actually do something physical to make this world a better place. I hope that you've had the opportunity to enjoy the benefits of hemp in your life in various fashions, and I hope that the next time you see me, you'll know that it's time for hemp. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for hemp. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, time for hemp! Yeah.
Give us this day our daily yeses. Yes to life. Yes to living. Yes to giving. Yes to caring. Yes to creating. Yes to thinking. Yes to clarity. Yes to balance. Yes to being. Yes to seeing. Yes to yeses. Give us this day our daily yeses. Chaos, confusions, chaos, desperations, despairs, desperations, programmed belief programmed, manipulated minds, minds manipulated, behaviors, reactions, reactions, behaviors, fearful thinking, thinking fearful, inside, outside, outside, inside, thought altering, altering thought, diseasing perceptions, perceptions diseasing, forgetting medicine, medicine forgetting, thinking clear, clear thinking, coherent coherence, coherency coherent, prayers given, given prayers, peace and love, love and peace, created realities, realities created, whatever sees, sees whatever we do we? Our daily yeses. Give us this day our daily yeses. Yes to yeses. Yes to seeing. Yes to being. Yes to balance. Yes to clarity. Yes to thinking. Yes to creating. Yes to giving. Yes to caring. Yes to living. Yes to life. Yes to yeses. Give us this day our daily yeses.
When I was about 12 years old, I decided that I wanted to be a forensic chemist.
Uh-huh.
And a forensic chemist has turned out to be a toxicologist, but it wasn't called that at that time. They were my training professor was the Oregon State chemist for many, many years, and he trained me as a toxicologist. And then when I got to medical school, I became a PhD of pharmacology and toxicology.
And you taught pharmacology and toxicology at a number of medical schools.
I taught physiology, pharmacology, and toxicology for about 10 medical schools. I was invited to East Africa, Uganda, and Tanzania, where I trained the first doctors in Tanzania.
You're at the University of Georgia,
Ohio? All over the place. I was recruited by the University of London to teach in Africa. And so, just like I say, I trained the first doctors there. I was a medical school professor for 25 years. The last 3 years, I was a full-time student while I was a full-time professor.
And that was at the
Osteopathic College in Des Moines, Iowa. And the strange thing about it was that I got my osteopathic degree when I was 54 years old, and I was older than most of the teachers.
That's funny. And that's when you started being an individual practicing osteopath.
Yeah. I had got associated with Paul at a town hall meeting.
Yeah, we were at KATU Channel 2's town hall.
Yeah.
And I was in the hot seat. It was just before the vote. It was the week, just 2 days or 2 days before the vote in 1998, where we were urging people to vote yes on Measure 67 for medical marijuana and no on referendum Measure 57 to recriminalize marijuana. The legislature in 97 had passed a bill to recriminalize marijuana, and we got 90,000 signatures to stop that from going into effect. A year later, we got another 120,000 to put the marijuana legalization on the ballot. So we went into this town hall. Of course, there was this one side of the studio where people largely in favor of marijuana. On the other side of the studio were people largely against marijuana. And you were right in the middle of the crowd that was against marijuana.
Well, the whole thing there were so many people pro-marijuana, and I was on crutches.
Yeah.
So I had to sit on the other way. And what was the name of that attorney who was running you know who I'm talking about?
Oh,
Jack.
Oh, Jack Schweig. Oh, now that's the one in Hawaii. I can't remember his last name.
Yeah.
But Jack, he was the MC for a number of years.
Yeah, that's right. And so he wanted to know if anybody on the other side wanted to speak. And so I raised my hand.
Yeah.
And I said,
I think everybody around you thought you were about to launch into something about how terrible marijuana is.
And I says, marijuana's been used for 5,000 years as medicine and has never killed anybody. And I can see this Jack
These people start to scoot away from you. They kind of moved around. But I noted it, and as soon as that show was over, I came and invited you to co-host this show. We started this show in 1996, in late 1996. And then you came on at about show number 75 or 80.
Something like that, yeah.
And we have some clips of some of these earlier shows we're going to play here a little bit later.
With Paul Loney.
Yeah, we had Paul Loney on as a guest host, and he stayed on till about show 125 or so.
Yeah.
Then when we switched over from this private studio that Lanny Swerdlow had done the first 120 shows, you moved over to when we started to record shows here as well.
You're right.
And you stayed at it for quite a while.
Well, the first applications that I wrote were in your homes.
Yeah.
For about 3 different homes?
Yeah.
3 or 4 different homes?
What happened is that people started coming to the TV show before the show to get you to sign their papers, and it just started to be overwhelming in terms of the people coming just before the show, and so I decided to move it over to my home for a while, and that became, I had, my kids were young then, they're young adults now, but I roll around on the floor and pick up all the food scraps and toys and stuff, but eventually we opened an office on Broadway and 45th, and we outgrew that office the day we opened it. It was too small, and so we kept going.
Hi there, let's review a little history here. I know that marijuana, cannabis has been a vital part of our society. Before the Industrial Revolution, it was 80% of the world's commerce. That was a good reason for them to try to eliminate you as a grower, because that was the material that built homes, made beautiful clothes for me to wear, fine paper that does hold up much better than the trees we're killing, and it does not destroy the ozone. In fact, it reoxygenates the planet. So they made a prohibition way back then, but in the United States it actually began 101 years ago in 1913. By 1913, it was totally outlawed in the state of California, and the Hearst Press was spreading their lies and misinformation, which is the only basis that was used for this prohibition. By the time 1937 came around, several states had joined that prohibition and kept adding to the list. By 1950, we began to realize that what they had really outlawed was this wonderful thing called cannabis. The greatest medicine known and the oldest medicine known to humanity, which has never killed anyone. People began to use it recreationally and try to write laws to make changes. Since 1960, there was amorphia, and then came normal. The most exciting thing that's happened is in the 90s, Students for Sensible Drug Coalition are incredibly brilliant young people who are making a difference, and young people all over this country have been educated thanks to the entrepreneurs and the internet and the fact that so many wonderful books, especially The Emperor Wears No Clothes, came back out in 1988. 88 was an incredible year for marijuana because also the DEA's own chief administrative law judge had had a chance to review the medical evidence and said that it was the oldest medicine known to humanity, and for a government to come between a patient's suffering and the benefits of this substance was unreasonable, arbitrary, and capricious. That decision came 3 weeks after I had been acquitted in the state of Florida because I had been using it to maintain the sight on my left eye. By then we had destroyed my right eye completely, both through ignorance and misinformation. I had thought marijuana was not safe, and I allowed all the cutting in my better eye till I was totally blinded in 87, and in 98 I came to court with it. So the support in Florida was amazing, amazing, amazing. You covered my trial, you covered all the things that happened prior to that, and you supported me. Norm Kent, who is now the director of NORML, did it pro bono. Since then, I have discovered the history of the prohibition and can never stay home, because in 1990 I met one Jack Hare, who wrote The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and who made me very much aware that we were arresting 250 to 300,000 people a year. But nothing has gotten better. In spite of the hundreds of thousands of us who work endlessly and have been working for generations to change these laws, in spite of that, the lies continue. They still have the same arguments. The difference is that now, because of the youth learning from us, especially in the 90s, because of the dedication that comes with that youth, because of a sense of responsibility that comes as a result of using marijuana, because once you enhance your awareness level by opening those receptors that you didn't use before, you become more aware of your responsibility towards yourself and the planet. And it is for that reason that I am saying, now that you know, and now that you've had hundreds of thousands of us who have been arrested repeatedly, yeah, we have joined this war. We've been forced to fight this war on us that they call the war on drugs. Drugs are not going to jail. 25 million of us have been arrested. 2,000 every day still today. You cannot afford this prohibition at a moral level, at a medical level, at a financial level. So it's up to you to join those hundreds of thousands of us who have been working at it. And remember, most of us were not necessarily willing victims. We were hammered with a war on drugs and had no choice but to stand up for our self-preservation and survival instincts, which of course cannot be outlawed. You cannot outlaw self-preservation and survival. And that's what you're asking us to do if you maintain these laws. Please join us in this nightmare, whether you're in Alaska, whether you're in New York, whether you're in Oregon, where you're going to make it legal for anyone over 40, or whether you're still working on the medical marijuana. It is all urgent. The message needs to be loud and clear. The Substance Control Act is the hammer that shut that coffin for us back in 1970 when Richard Nixon hired a team of his own friends to tell him marijuana should be decriminalized, that it was no danger to anyone. And he decided he was not going to reward the hippies, no, what were they called then? Beatniks, who had stopped his war on Vietnam. And he appointed Elvis Presley as his first drug czar. See how that went? Ignorance blinds us, is what that proves repeatedly. But you have broken through the dark night of ignorance when you made California legal back in 1996. The dark night of ignorance has ended. The dawn of day is here, and it's up to you to bring it into its full, beautiful sight. We need to end this prohibition at all levels. Hemp should be a vital part of our economy. Our farmers should be making money, not being thrown in jail. And you need homes that are much harder to burn down these days, especially in dry areas like Arizona, California, even a lot of fires in Florida. There's just fires all over that could be alleviated a great deal by building properly and not use so many chemicals everywhere for everything. 1 in every 3 of us is expected to have a cancer. Actually, I have been to a medical conference where some of the most brilliant people stated very clearly that today each and every one of us has a chance to acquire a cancer, and most of it has to do with substituting this one plant with over 50,000 petrochemical products. So please, the ones of us who keep our immune system by using this plant stand a better chance of not getting the cancer, although there's plenty of it to go around to all of us. So please, help us alleviate, help our planet, help the people, and stop this madness. Florida is trying to make sure that other people have a right to cultivate and possess their medical marijuana. And of course, we're with them in spirit. I am there in the spirit of gratitude. They are the ones who made it happen for me. And I know they're compassionate people if given the opportunity. Education is the key to all the answers. That's what all the elders have taught me, and most of them were younger than I am. In fact, my elders turned out to be kids from 18 to 25 that took to that road, and we did every state in this country repeatedly for 2 or 3 years, and then joined the Hemp Museum, or he joined us actually with the Cannabis Action Network, and we continued to travel the country for another year or two. After that, all with the purpose of educating America, learning and teaching as quickly as we could pass it on to you, and it has paid off. I got you on my side. Thank you. And what surprised me was the reception that we got as we traveled. It wasn't like, oh, what are those old people talking to us about me? And they were all ears, because they were not getting education, and we had that. They were getting there. That was a poor excuse for education. That was very sad to travel. And here, the stories these kids could tell of horrible parenting they had until 10 years ago when their daddy gave up the booze and started smoking pot. Only now they had to say goodbye to him so they could throw him in jail for actually taking care of himself for once and for all. I mean, I had to deal with this and trying to teach these children that not to give up, that they can change, that this is a bad story, but they need to share it with legislators. They need to put an end to it. That brings us to a very interesting part of this prohibition. In the states where we have ended medical marijuana prohibition, we have dropped in overdoses by pharmaceuticals. And I mean a whopping 26% we've dropped. Plus, 26+%, considering that 78% of all deaths that are drug-related are with legal drugs and prescriptions. I think you need to take note. In the states where medical marijuana is a reality, we have dropped a 26+% of drug overdoses. This isn't a drug. This is God's precious herb gift. I take it in the spirit of Thanksgiving every day. Cannabis does have accepted medical value thanks to you. Again, 24 states have accepted it already, and more will after this election, no doubt in my heart about it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, all of them. May the true spirit of love be your guiding light and end this madness.
As long as people are just being locked up for cannabis, then we've got to change those laws, and we've got to restore hemp for energy, folks. That's the real key here. The whole reason marijuana was prohibited was to stop this, to stop hemp fuel being used. Now this is hemp seed oil with a piece of hemp twine here. This is next week's wick right here. And you can burn this in any diesel engine with no conversion to the engine today. You can pour that right into your diesel engine and turn the key and drive. And that's the reason it was made illegal. It's the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, elite, crony, capitalist, ruling class that have brought us hemp and cannabis prohibition.
Cannabis grower. And I have a question for George. We are having a problem in curing our cannabis to where we're trying to find a fine line between not letting it mold, but yet letting it get too dry. We keep them in the glass jars, and we do burp the glass jars because we have had some that did mold. And so to prevent the molding, we are burping the jars, but then we find that if we burp the jars too much, that it's getting too dry. So I was wondering if he had any suggestions.
Yeah, you probably have mold on it. It's probably got mold before it goes into the jar. And generally what happens, you probably have all kinds of mildew. The big one is a powdery mildew. And botrytis isn't so bad, but that's botrytis cinerea. But you can have this powdery mildew, and this year it's been horrid. We had 1 year in Spain where it was horrid, 2 years, and now it's not so bad. You have to start controlling it early on because it's a systemic thing, and it could start in your plants already, right? And you have to kill it before it gets in if you want to do it organically, because there's what is it, Bacillus subtilis is one of the bacillus, bacterias, and Serenade's one of the products that they use, right? And you have to put that on your plant before the mold comes, and then you have to keep that up before the mold comes, and then after that, keep other plants that are molding away, because this year it was horrid. Everything had mold. I have crepe myrtles where I was growing this year in California, and they had it. My plants got it. I kept ahead of it on some of them, did an experiment on the others, and they didn't look too well. But anyway, there's that point. You start there, and then after that, when you harvest the plants, you take the branches, and you put them in a bucket, a container like this, full of water with, like, say, a 2% solution of hydrogen peroxide, yeah, H2O2. And then you soak them in there for a while. It sounds kind of funny, but you soak them in there. The mold floats up to the top. You skim that off. Might take a couple of times, and then you skim that off, and then you take your plants and you lightly spray them with water. I don't know exactly what it does to the trichomes. It may beat them a little bit, but I would use like a light spray, not heavy spray, just to kind of rinse it off. And then you shake that, and then you let it dry, or you can put it in a harvesting machine, or a trimming machine. But then you can put it into your container, But the second control I already gave was, when it had mold on it already. And that stuff, it's hard to see, Once you see it, it's there. It's inside the plant. You can't change that. So one of the things I've been playing with, I was playing with one of those green lights, you put on your head and walk around in the in the grow room with. We were filming I'm doing a lot of videos now, and we were filming in a grow room, and I was looking around with this green light, and you can see the mold. It sticks out. Oh, cool. Yeah. And so the next thing I'm going to do is get the UVC light. Not UVB, but UVC. It'll burn your eyes, but you can shine it on the mold and it'll kill it right on the plant, Wow. So that's a big tip. Please pay attention.
There you go, from the master himself.
Hey, here's something I'd like to say. I just came from dinner with my friend Jeff, who wrote this book, Teeming with Microbes, and it's an excellent book, wonderful book. It's all about growing organically. You put a good biology with your soil, and you're going to grow a lot bigger plants. You're going to have way fewer problems. You're not going to have, all of these invasions to the roots and everything. The microbes will help so much.
I've been using the mycorrhizal enzymes for years.
Excellent.
That helps the nutrients break down and feed the roots. What other microbes can you tell me
the thing is with the microbes, they make the fertilizer, the nutrients that are available, they make them available in the soil. There's already a lot of things in the soil that just are not available. To make it available is a big thing. Just because something has a big NPK number, like 10, 20, 30 or whatever on the label, doesn't mean that the plant is going to use it. That plant, it doesn't use that always. Or uses a fraction of it. The main thing is to get the stuff used. And anyway, like I say, give this a shot and you'll be much happier. And the other thing is too, people spend a lot for fertilizers and stuff. That's not necessary. You can grow a 10-pound plant in a 200-gallon container with good soil, and for your flowering fertilizer, you have two hands like this full of bat guano. Should have gloves on because it's poop. It's not good. But you throw that on there, And that's it. That's all you have to give for the whole year. That's it, you know. So if you fill your head with good things, you don't have to put too much on your plants. It's a very good thing.
Very good point. The big plant video that you produced, you're working on some others,
Oh,
and you've
yeah.
got that one out there on how the best way to do that. I know I'm gearing up right now to make my cuttings for this April.
Excellent.
You know, I always try to make them right around the first of the year, so they're good 3 to 5 feet tall when they go in April. And,
you know, that's what you have to remember. This plant's really, really easy to grow. You know, some people call it a weed. It grows everywhere. You know, everywhere.
It's amazing how big
plant.
it will grow too. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
I
it
put
grows huge.
24
it
plants
time.
in an area, and it's just jam packed. And so now I've cut it back to 9. I've seen, you know, 3 plants fill a 60 by 30 greenhouse in a season.
Yeah, that's totally possible. There's people who are growing plants, you know, 20 pounds. You know, it's very, very possible. It's not that difficult. The main thing is it takes time for it to grow that big. You know, if it doesn't have time, you know, the plants indoors, they can grow 1 meter high, and that's it, because the light is limiting and the pot is limiting. But when you have a plant that has plenty of soil, and there's time for the biology to take place in the soil, for the roots to absorb everything, you're going to have a lot bigger plant. And like I say, you're taking your cuttings right after Christmas, first of the year. That's what you should be doing. And you're growing cuttings too, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, but the thing is, your cuttings have been acclimated to this climate.
Right.
This is Sunset Western Garden Book Zone 8. 8A or B, I can't remember. But, you know, that means the last average day of frost is April 15th, I think, okay? So I'm in zone 14, where I'm at in California right now. I can start a bit earlier. But the main thing is, you can put these plants outside. You got to keep them from flowering, so that means they're going to need a little light to keep it from flowering, because, you know, it's a daylight sensitive plant. But the other thing is, they're going to need heat, and that's about it. It can be raining cats and dogs outside. As long as they're warm enough, they're going to grow. Yeah, and they don't need tons of light early on in the year.
I was raised up on the mountain, yeah, high up on solid ground, and I had my head way up in the clouds. One day I had to come down. One day I had to come down. So I ventured to the flatlands. They just went on and on. Before I ever got to the other side, I started missing home. Started missing home. See, them people, they weren't as friendly. They'd all been traumatized by the rush of this here civilization. They all were trapped inside. So they went and they made a war so they could drive around a big old car. And they drive it all up in circles, but they never get that far. And they prey upon each other like it's some good healthy sport. And their idea of a wilderness is a condo at the resort. only make rules that benefit the ones that lock you up. And there's not much more to say, except this whole place is damn corrupt. So I'm going back to my mountain, and there I'll spend my days. And I'll make love to my mountain girl, and I'll smoke my OG haze, and I'll live my old school ways.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that.
You've got that, and you convert that into this. We've got projects where we're trying to take natural materials. So this happens to be hemp fiber, industrial hemp fiber, and we're trying to churn these sorts of materials into solid materials that you can build all sorts of things with. The advantage of doing this is you can grow these materials locally, manufacture them locally, and they cost a fraction of the amount as their synthetic counterparts. And in addition, you can mix synthetics in with natural materials and make new composite materials that have the best of both worlds.
So normally people are used to looking at a car door like this. This is what most people see. But on the back side, you have this natural fiber, and this has been in use for 20 years. And to have this 90-degree angle here for that strength, not a problem with fiberglass, but with natural fibers, you have to have a very strong natural fiber, and hemp is certainly, one of the top ones.
There's lots of appetite for taking raw plant materials and tearing it all apart and making liquid fuels out of it, but that's always going to be a high volume, kind of a low margin product that's destined to be burned. We're talking about making materials that are high value added products for high value added end uses. The earth has finite amount of resources, and using these kinds of materials allows more people to live high standards of living without the same cost to the environment and the same cost of resources to have that quality of life.
We're down to less than a minute left to go, Marlon.
Man, I swear we're here in 2015, right? And how can a person be on a show without it's selfie time? Alrighty, there we go. Now that's going to be posted on social media somewhere, along with SOS for the cannabis clubs. This is going to be a benefit concert to be able to help the cannabis clubs in the future with legislation and maybe some law, and then we'll go from there.
Nikki?
Come to the other spot. Check us out, 72nd and Herald, doing something every single day of the week, 7 days a week.
72nd, Southeast Herald. Tune in next week. John's going to play a few chords on the way out. We will have some tape shows until January 8th, and we'll be back live and help us restore hemp. Good night.
Ganja. I like very ganja.